and I hope you're having a blessed and fabulous day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And we are commanded to love one another. Well, today I want to dig into this topic about black male worship and how I think it got started. Black women who make excuses for black men's bad behavior or for them not being productive, or sometimes because a black woman won't break up with a man in a timely fashion based on the time that was set by her girlfriends. These women might be called black male worshipers. I believe that there is something to the statement of black male worship. And I believe that is true for many black women because I grew up with 5 brothers. And I can remember my mother saying all the time, I'd rather raise boys than girls. She had 5 boys and 5 girls. So she had enough of a balance there to make that determination. And her determination was always, I would much rather raise boys than girls. Now, my father, who lived in the house with us as our biological father, also had 5 girls and 5 boys. But he didn't say that. I never heard my father say he would rather raise boys than girls, even though my father absolutely appreciated having boys, because he said boys can work, and he expected them to work, and they did work. But my mother, I think, spoiled my brothers. My sisters and I always said that amongst ourselves, that she spoiled them because they had the sense of entitlement. And the reason, part of it came from the fact that we had to wash their clothes, iron their clothes, cook their food, clean up their room. We had to do things like that. They had to do things outside the house. They had to go and work outside the house. But inside the house, and anything to do with housekeeping and cooking and things like that, we had to do it. My sisters and I had to do it. So they had a sense of entitlement about what we were supposed to do for them. And we understood that we had to do that because they had to work. They had to work around the house as well as outside the home. They had to work for other people, cutting grass. And my uncle was a carpenter, and they had to help him build houses. One of my brothers had to sack groceries. He had a job downtown sacking groceries. We lived closely around white people, and very often they had odd jobs around their house that they needed done. And if somebody needed a job done, they had to do it. Now, what's noticeable now, and I didn't think about it then, was that they were being paid for what they did, especially when they worked away from home. But we were never paid for what we did. We were expected to do it. We did it. And that was the end of it. And they expected us to do it. And when they went out and made money, they were not required to give us any of it, even though we were basically working for them. But we didn't complain. We didn't even know to complain. You just didn't complain. But that was setting the foundation for the fact that they are important. That was what was coming through. These brothers are important. And the understanding was that these boys got to work because one day they got to take care of a family. Now, that's what my father taught them, and that's what they did. So I think the black male worshiping starts in the home. And then when you go to the church, who's over the church? Who's running the business of the church? Men. The pastors are men. The deacons are men. The trustees are men. The ushers are men. At least the president of the usher board is a man. So they run stuff. So black male worship is born of black women's expectation of black men. Now, that is what I believe. And male worship exists in all races, I believe, in some form. Because when you think about the white race, and these are the people that we've been around and seen in action the most, white women have an expectation of white men. They may not call it white male worship, and I don't think they do, but they have white male expectation. And just look what happened down there in Montgomery the other day. Those white women were out there fighting with those white men. That was their form of trying to protect those white men, because they have the expectation of white men taking care of them. So there is male worship in the white race. It's just not called that. And it takes a different form, because I believe that white men live up to the expectation of white women, maybe more so than black people feel like black men do. But white women absolutely have expectation of white men. So how did male expectation in the black race turn into black male worship? As long as we were segregated and having to produce on our own and do on our own, I believe the basic concept of family and gender roles, if I could say it that way, I think they were fairly understood and accepted. But as the black family has come under attack, especially after the so-called integration, black men have been diminished because of the systems that have been set against them. Incarceration being one of them, trying to keep black men out of the job market so they could adequately provide for their families. Just a number of things that have come up against the black family, particularly black men. And so when they say black women are trying to speak life into them or whatever that is, black women are trying to encourage them and push them and make them go forward, as you have a force working against you to keep you from going forward. It has put both black men and black women in a very precarious situation. So in some cases, it seems like black men just gave up. And sadly, many of them succumbed to the temptations and the vices that were put in the community for them. Drugs, alcohol, prostitution, gambling, and other vices that were put there to destroy the family. And any of them could lead to incarceration. So now you're leaving black women in the family raising boys on their own, because it does make a difference when there's a father in the home. Like in the case of my father, I believe some of my brothers would have turned out being as dusty as hell if it hadn't been for my father saying, no, you gotta work, get up, making them get up on Saturday morning and go out and work. Whatever he was doing that Saturday, they had to go out and work. But if you have a mother there and the boys don't want to get up because they don't want to get up, but it takes that daddy to make them get up out of that bed and go out there and help change that tire or change the oil in that car or fix the tractor or pick the butter beans or whatever it is they have to do, dad will make them get up and go out of that bed, and they won't give a whole lot of back talking like they do with mom. So I think that the whole attack on the black family has a lot to do with the so-called black male worshiping, because mothers will pamper boys and fathers will pamper girls. That's kind of how I've seen it. I even have seen that with white people. White men will pamper their girls, but they are tough on their boys. The white girls can't do anything wrong, but they are tough on those white boys. And then the white mother just gives in to the boys. White women will come stepping up in your classroom. Hunter thinks you're giving too much homework. Or Hunter wasn't able to do his science project because he had to go to baseball practice. Just like baseball practice was the most important thing in the world. So there's a white woman making excuses for white boys too. I am not trying to blame black male worship on white people or white supremacy. I'm saying that every race has some form of male worshiping, because males are supposed to provide, protect the family, and keep the lineage going. That's the responsibility that's placed on men of all races. What happens with black men is that their progress has been stunted by the system that we're in. Black men are still trying to figure it out. And it's really true when people say a woman can't raise a boy to be a man. No, she cannot. A woman cannot raise a boy to be a man, but she can raise him to be a decent human being. And what happens with black people sometimes is that a black woman who is raising boys becomes overprotective of those boys. Black women will tell their sons, well, if a girl hits you, you hit her back. Real men teach their boys not to fight girls. When you can't get along with somebody and it reaches the level that you need to hit or abuse somebody, that's nature's way of telling you, you need to move on. This is not the right person for you. But when you're teaching your child, it's okay to hit a girl. Well, if they get in a relationship with a girl and the girl makes them mad, now they have the license to hit that girl. And they start that, black boys start that in middle school. They start that aggressiveness toward black girls in middle school. And most of the time they are raised by single moms. And black girls that are brought up in the home with these boys and in the community with these boys see this. And they eventually become victims of this black boy privilege of you can't do anything to a black boy. If you do, he got the license to do something back to you, because black women are trying to protect them. And there's also the issue of them protecting them from the big bad white man, the police. So that factors into it too, and that's a discussion for another day. But this black male worshiping that they're calling it, that begins in the home, in the community. Even I can remember back in the day, not so long ago, when black people were urging black women to marry these guys who were just coming out of prison, because you got to make a man, you got to help the man. So that's kind of what it has been, sacrificing black girls for black boys to live. When I first heard the expression black male worship, I didn't think very much about it. I thought that's just YouTube babble. But the more I hear it and the more I see videos about it and the more I see black women saying why they call it black male worship, I thought, well, that might be something to look into. And I've been thinking about it. We're doing some of this without realizing it, but some of it is natural. Some of it comes naturally because it is something that's done in every culture. The men in the culture are expected to be the leaders. They're expected to provide for families, protect families and communities. They are looked up to in the culture. It's a man's world. We live in a man's world, and our values are based on the Judeo-Christian Bible. And that Bible is primarily dominated by discussions and actions and prophecies of men. It's about men. There are a few women scattered here and there, but it's mostly about men. Men dominate religion, politics, education. They may not be in the classroom, but they're making the rules. Healthcare. They may not be in the hospital doing bedside nursing, but they're making the rules. They dominate everything. And women get in where they fit in. So with men dominating everything, it is natural that women depend on them for survival. So that goes back to black women's expectation of black men. That is the basis of black male worship. Going forward, it is my hope that black men and black women will learn how to communicate with each other. In the past, to me, from my generation, it didn't seem that complicated. We went to HBCUs, graduated, got jobs, went to work, and built lives together without a lot of condemnation. But this is a new day, and black women feel that black men have failed them, and black men feel that black women don't respect them. And I think they're both right. I think that black men and black women are right. So where does the healing begin? The healing begins with forgiveness. We have to forgive each other for whatever it is we think the other one has done. We have to forgive, and then we have to build bridges. We have to learn how to build bridges with each other. Black men used to not be that hard to get along with. Now, black women might have been, I don't know. But they used to not be that hard to get along with. And many of them are not that hard to get along with now. So we just have to start somewhere. Stop the bickering. Start talking. Start communicating. Be kinder. Be gentler. And see how much magic you can get just from that. You can get a lot of magic just by being nice yourself. Okay, y'all, so really it's time for us to grow up. This is a great time to be a Black American, and we've got a lot of work to do. So we need to get busy working and stop all this other bickering. Okay, y'all, what you think about this? Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, and as always, have a great day.